Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Trucker Jim, and I am sitting here playing the world's smallest violin for all the owner-operators out there, cause rates are sucking this week. They suck! Horrible! Here you go, boys.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another trucking news. I know it's been a while, and I'm going to get back on these things and stay on them. Yes, I do have a character that I'm going to be bringing into the trucking news, but not at the moment. We're going to do some serious trucking news because there's a lot of things to talk about going on in the industry, and I want to jump into them right after this.
What's going on, guys? You got Sammy here from the Make Sense channel, and I just want to come in and say the rates suck. I'm currently in Northern California, and today and yesterday it was non-stop pounding this load board to try to find a load out. Every load I called, I was trying to go back to Georgia, and every load I called back on Georgia or even Florida was anywhere from $2,800 to $3,200, and the average rate on just Georgia alone from Atlanta from here on the 15-day average has been about $4,600. So we can't play ball for round 3. Sorry, no. I'm going to sit. So I figured let's see if we can find some local moves, some interstate moves, and as soon as you find one that you can run and you have time to pick up and go move it, as soon as you call about it, it's gone. Everybody said the same thing. I just covered that load. It's booked. So I was able to book a load from here to Dallas, and unfortunately it's about $400 under 15-day market average rate. But this Northern California dry market, we got to go. So I'm gonna count my losses and head out. I hope the rest of the country is in better shape than it is in Northern California.
So the first story I want to bring to you guys is about rates. As all of you know, being a independent contractor, a lease op, or an owner op has its struggles even in the good times. But right now, as rates start to decline and people start to feel the squeeze, it's not looking so good. There's an abundance of freight out there, as most of you know, if any of you are looking at the load boards, but the brokers are strangling those rates. I had one broker tell me today that, why would we pay you more? You're leaving Florida. You've got to go north no matter what. So why should we pay you more? Here's the thing. We all can guess and assume and be pretty sure of our assumption that brokers are charging the same for freight coming out of Florida now as they do in the hottest time of the year, but those rates aren't put back onto the driver. They strangle them. And if you're an independent contractor, which the next story about an independent contractor with Prime, a company that I tell people to go to a lot for their training program, they got themselves in a little hot water. But if you're an independent contractor, then you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to rates and trying to book loads. As far as, well, if you can book your own load. Some independent contractors who aren't really independent contractors, or I remember when I was at Knight Transportation and independent contractors in California got together, and Knight was in a lawsuit with people, independent contractors who weren't really independent contractors. And apparently somebody else from Prime did the same thing. Jay?
Got an interesting story today about Prime, or New Prime. There was a gentleman who was signed on with them as an independent contractor. They have about 5,000 of them, who felt that he was misclassified and wanted to sue Prime. Prime said the agreement that you signed states in there that we will go into arbitration. You cannot take us to court. So Mr. Oliveras took him to court, the Supreme Court, and Prime lost 8-0. In a unanimous 8-0 decision issued Tuesday, the nation's largest high court sided with owner-operator Dominic Oliveira over his carrier, the legal name for the Springfield, Missouri-based Prime, Inc. Prime has contracts with more than 5,000 independent contractors. The question before the Supreme Court was whether arbitration clauses within contracts between fleets and independent contractors are binding. Oliveira sought to have a lawsuit he brought against New Prime over his employment status heard in court. New Prime argued that his lawsuit was bound to arbitration per the arbitration clause within his contract with the company. Now, in 1926, the Federal Arbitration Act established that arbitration is mostly a binding agreement. But there are exceptions, particularly for transportation workers. Oliveira argued his situation was an exception to the 1926 law, and the Supreme Court agreed. Now he will have a level playing field where he can be heard by a jury. This is a big deal, and people need to know about it, because just because there's an arbitration clause does not mean it's going to stick. The Supreme Court just says it won't. We do have rights, and they need to be protected. So good luck, Prime Inc. I believe the cat's out of the bag now.
Thanks, Jay, for the story. And hey, I'll link Jay's channel in the description. So if you're not familiar with him, which probably you are, you can go and subscribe to his channel. But the first story I want to talk to you about is this one that I was reading that I actually saw the video to on the news this morning. It was the toddler that came flying out of a car on a turn. Believe it or not, this toddler was rescued by a truck driver, whose name is Chad Mock, M-O-C-K. I'll link the story in the description so you can check it out. But the video, if you haven't seen it, let me play the video. Okay, now you've seen the video, so you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this. But this dude caught this on his dash cam of this car going around the turn. The toddler in her car seat flies out of the car into the intersection. And apparently what happened was the mom did not install the car seat correctly. The kid stayed in the car seat. She was safe, a little shooken up, obviously. But the mom didn't install it correctly. Listen, there are those things in the car with the pictures of the car seat where you latch it in now. You parents know what I'm talking about. It's a pain in the ass, but you can do it and your kid is safe, right? This mom apparently didn't do that. She tried to use just the seatbelt or whatever. It was detached. Kid comes flying out of the car. For whatever reason, the door opened, whether it wasn't closed or the kid opened it, I don't know. But the kid was good. This guy got it on the dash cam. Kudos, sir, for making sure that you stopped and helped and everything like that. I mean, who wouldn't? But definite kudos.
As an owner-operator, I come out here for a week, 2 weeks at a time. You know, my main goal as a truck driver is to support my family. Take care of my kids back at home. The way the rates are today, you can't even do that. Barely afford to put diesel in my truck. Rates suck. They really need to come up. Something needs to be done.
So as a lot of you know, there's been some construction in Birmingham on 59, 20 right there, the interchange, all that, you know. Anyways, Alabama Department of Transportation is closing it on the 21st, and they tell you to use 459 to go around. They're going to demolish some bridges and rebuild bridges and do all that kind of stuff. So plan ahead. That probably is going to be all clogged up through there if everybody's trying to use that detour. So be aware of that if you're traveling through the area. According to the story, the ramp closures have already begun and are scheduled, almost couldn't get that word out, scheduled to continue until the formal closure, the complete closure. So be aware if you're going into Birmingham. Do you idle your truck? Are you an idler? Are you you idle? Well, if you do idle, then you should be aware, and I'm going to make sure I read this so that I'm not. The American Transportation Research Institute this week released an updated list of state and local idling regulations to help truck drivers avoid fines for idling too long. So we all know that California, New York, they don't like idling. I've idled a lot. Even in California, I've never had anyone, I've never gotten a ticket ever. But just to let you know, the 6 new idling laws that are listed, and I'll link this story in the description so you can check them out if you travel these areas. Madison, Wisconsin, Sandy City, Utah, Newark, Delaware, Ithaca, New York, Logan, Utah, and Summit City, Utah. Now, I can understand why Utah's doing this. I get it, because if you've ever been over there, the smog and the stuff in that valley will stay there until the wind, if the wind dies down or whatever. When there's a nice little breeze, beautiful place to be. But when there's fires out west or something, that smoke and everything just stays, and those air pollutants stay in that valley. So I get the Utah ones. I get it. I mean, are there even people in Madison, Wisconsin? I don't know. Is there enough? I don't know. But I'll link the story below. Check it out. Now, weather is getting to be a little crazy. There are some big storms moving through. So if you are traveling north of the 40, if you're out west, if you're up in the mountains, make sure that you're checking the weather. People, be prepared for the snow. There's 2 big storms coming through. Listen, if you guys need a suggestion on an app to use, I've always used, for years, I've used My Radar. It's free. Download it. It can give you forecasts and up to the minute precipitations and different things. Active Doppler radar right on your phone. It's free. This isn't an endorsement. It's just what I've always used, and it has always helped me. Make sure that you're checking with the states that you're traveling through too. Most of them have apps, and they will tell you if chain laws are up, if roads are closed, all those different things, which are great. If you have any advice for any of the younger drivers that have not experienced winter, leave it in the comments below. Put your best tip down there for those folks, whether it's park the truck, whether it's don't chain up, whatever it is. Put it down in the comments. I'm sure they would love the free advice.